In this video we're going to be taking a look at Matera. If you take a look at the layout of the map, what we're going to try to do is focus on getting alpha. There's a couple of different ways you can play this map, but the one that we find that seems to fit us best is grabbing alpha. Some people like to focus on Sierra. Sierra is surrounded by a lot of buildings and walls, which gives you good cover, but not so good visibility on your opponent. We like grabbing alpha because from alpha you can see almost every base on the field, and you can get an easy, clear view of what your enemy is deploying, and so therefore you can call in other units to go against their combat chain. So from the beginning you want to use your binoculars to see what your enemy is doing. We're playing the Europeans, we're the Russians, so we're slow, and if they wanted to they could beat us to alpha. That's why we carry a tank to alpha, to beat up anything that gets there before us or gets in our way. If they did bring a lot of tanks to alpha and kind of met us with the same force, hopefully with our Russian armor they would be able to beat them, or you may have to try to bail and maybe head to Sierra instead. This team, what they decided to do was head to Sierra first. So in my first deployment I deployed a rifleman and headed it to Delta to secure. My partner, he's got whiskey, and then what he's going to focus on from here on out is he's just going to focus on bringing out armor and battling these guys to try to keep them busy. And what I'm going to try to do is just get men out on the field and try to sneak around and grab uplinks. Now every game you play is going to play different, but with these videos I'm hoping to just point out certain things to try to think about while you are playing the game. For instance, these guys, they brought out artillery, but they didn't have nothing there to protect it. They were calling in units to protect it, but we saw an opportunity, so we went on ahead and rushed their artillery in order to take it out. Now I've got my guys at alpha, but I have not upgraded alpha. I'm gonna instead, I see that he's got engineers at Bravo. Normally I wouldn't walk from alpha to Bravo, but because he's got engineers there I see an opportunity, so I'm going to try to take advantage of it. I wasn't going to plan on upgrading Bravo or alpha regardless, because if they did take alpha I wouldn't want them to get that electronic warfare support right off the bat. Because they have airstrikes and forced recon, we see that both of their bases are airstrikes, and they don't have any electronic warfare, so we're going to try to keep that out of their hands. As I've talked about many times before, he had engineers at a base. Engineers are not good to secure or hold a base. They are only good to protect against armor. You never want to have an engineer relying on him to protect your base, because he's not going to protect it when the other guy has riflemen out on the field. If you notice, when we play we don't use a whole lot of engineers. There are good opportunities and times for them, but holding bases is not one of them. So our original plan from the get-go when we started this was to actually wear the opponents down and try to force them into an assault type match until we gained an upper hand in order to push them into DEFCON. We were able to get a pretty good upper hand on them in the beginning, and so we went on ahead and grabbed an extra uplink to push them into DEFCON. I deployed a man and I walked him all the way to Sierra. It took him a little while to get there, but by the time he got there it was just about the right timing in order for us to roll the clock back on. You want to remember when you're playing against a team that has supports and your team doesn't, as for instance this game, the enemy had airstrikes and force recon, we had no supports. You want to remember to move as quickly as possible. And you want to remember, if you're the team that actually has the supports, that you want to have a lot of units out on the field before you start using the supports. You don't want to waste 4 points on an airstrike when you could be bringing in a unit that could take out 2 or 3 other units, and instead you use an airstrike which only could possibly wound a unit that's got full health. So when you play a map and your team has full supports and the other team doesn't, and you feel like you've got a huge advantage going in, but so many people turn that into a disadvantage for their team because they rely solely on the supports. And you got to remember that you're playing Conquest and you've got to take bases, you've got to get units out on the field, because if not, the other team will just swarm you, as we did with this team. And as I stated, there's many different variations to playing this map. This is only one of them. Some people like to focus on Sierra, and that's fine, but as you see from this vantage point right here, which I'm not directly in alpha, but it's pretty much the same view, you have a good line of sight of every base and an excellent sight of the enemy's deployment zone. So the enemy used a WMD on us. So what we did was, I'm at Lima and I'm about to take Lima, and we want to get rid of those pesky airstrikes. So we went ahead and WMD'd Foxtrot in order to get rid of the airstrikes, and we're taking down Lima now. So as soon as Lima's down, they're done with. They have no supports and they've lost every advantage that they had when they came into this game. And that's one thing you want to remember to do if you're playing, against a team that's got supports. You want to get rid of those supports as quickly as possible, or get the victory clock rolling as quickly as possible. And that is our strategy for Matera.